a chance, with a chance, with a chance, with a chance. When the crowd gets fussy, when the floor gets dusty, when your blade gets rusty, with a chance, with a chance. When your room smells funny, when a hex takes your money, what's gonna save you, honey? Just with a chance, with a chance. All you witches and all you old magicians, it's time to start listening to with a chance, with a chance. With a chance, with a chance, with a chance, with a chance. With a chance, with a chance, with a chance, with a chance. When the crowd gets fussy, when the floor gets dusty, when your blade gets rusty, with a chance, with a chance. When your room smells funny, when a hex takes your money, what's gonna save you, honey? Just with a chance, with a chance. All you witches and all you old magicians, it's time to start listening to with a chance, with a chance. With a chance, with a chance, with a chance,
Absinthe is the aphrodisiac of the self. The green fairy who lives in the absinthe wants your soul.
The Damned on Widdershins Radio, and a bunch of other acts that, won't sue us for copyright infringement. We heard the Derek Halmore Orchestra with the Widdershins theme, and 45 Grave, they won't sue us either. And Fiona Horn's all-girl band from when she was 18, The Mothers, and we've got all the tracks off of their album in our playlist here. Just a couple days into the season of the dead now. I think yesterday was like All Souls Day.
Yesterday was the second.
In Ireland, there's some celebrations of All Saints and All Souls Days go into like next week. I'm a unionist, so we celebrate our martyrs through the month of November. Usually, I think it starts around November 9th, because Joe Hill was executed by the Utah authorities on November 9th, I believe. But just a bit of trivia for y'all. We did not come on last week, so I'm sure a lot has happened. But here tonight, we got special guest time. And it occurred to me as we were lining up the special guest, this special guest is at WitchCon, which means we've already started our WitchCon broadcasts. Last year, as you might recall, we did a marathon, 2 weeks long, almost every night, and I think we did 2 broadcasts in one night, trying to interview all of the WitchCon presenters that we could.
Yeah.
We probably got to like 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Out of 100. So we did not do well,
but we
worked hard. We worked
Yeah.
it hard.
We worked hard.
So maybe we got to start that sooner this year. And we are with Eddie Massey right here. And amongst all the other things that Eddie Massey does. Eddie Massey is an author, teacher, psychic, practicing witch. His presidents over the years within the pagan community, serving as a store owner, brick and mortar store, event organizer, and can be seen most notably along Alexander Cabot, hosting the popular podcast radio show This Old Witch, which I've been on myself. That's how we met, which showcases elders within the witch and pagan community. Ooh, I guess that would be me. I'm an elder. Author of Casting Creative Magical Circles and the Modern Witch Curriculum, as well as various articles on witchcraft and magical practices. Nominated for the 2018 Witchway Magazine Awards as Favorite Witch Teacher. He facilitates classes and workshops on witchcraft and magic throughout the U.S. And his bio's longer than that, but, this is radio. Eddie, how the fuck are you?
I'm good. I was saying, are you reading the whole damn bio?
Nah.
There's only so much reading
just the
that
interesting
you're
parts.
do.
No, the rest is interesting, too. Merry meet again. How are you?
Merry meet. Happy Samhain season.
Happy
Thank
Samhain
you.
season. If they can have a Christmas season, we should have a Samhain season.
We should.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, Samhain proper's on the 7th, so...
I've been advocating that we should take Christmas back anyways. Because really, if we only celebrate the winter solstice, technically that's the death of the sun god. And he doesn't rise again for 3 days.
Yeah.
So that makes us really morbid if we just celebrate the death part and not the birth part, which just happens to be around Christmas. But, that's because they stole that. But
Yeah.
I digress. Eddie, how are you?
Did they steal it, or did we kind of steal it, too?
I don't know who had it for. Well, no. I think they stole it because
Yeah,
it would
I
be
think
a
they
pagan
stole it.
standard. I mean, the sun was the original pagan god. And in the northern hemisphere, around the 21st, the sun dips below the horizon and rises 3 days later to the old folk, the old witches. That was the death of the sun. And then it rose again 3 days later, and that just happens to be like around Christmas usually, because like it's around the 21st or 22nd, even 23rd sometimes it can happen. But yeah, I think they stole it.
I think they stole it, too.
I mean, we were OG.
Yeah.
You can't steal from something that comes later.
True. I truly like to believe it's a handshake between the two, between modern witchcraft anyway, not so much on the traditional end, but on the modern end, I think it's been a nice handshake. We just have to accept it, as it is.
Yeah. Well, I used to, I grew up as a witch, having, being very butthurt against the Catholic Church my whole fucking life.
You're still butthurt against the Catholic
Well,
Church.
now I have more reason to, because that's TikTok Inquisition shit.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But then later in life, I coined a saying. It's like, I would like to thank the Catholic Church for providing so many of my ancestors a convenient place to hide all those years while they were out there hunting them. Mm-hmm. They made it really easy for us to disguise ourselves as Catholics too. Mm-hmm. By stealing a lot of our shit.
Yeah.
So it worked out. We had some crafty ancestors.
That's why I say it's a nice handshake. And those Catholics do more magic than us witches anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I took my kid trick-or-treating the other night, and he was Darth Vader. We recycled the Darth Vader costume because we lagged.
Well, we were in California before, so I figured nobody would see it here. And we weren't really sure if there was gonna be a Halloween or Samhain this year for kids, at least.
And so
we recycled.
So somebody gave him candy. Says, "May the Force be with you." And I said, Sasha, you got to say it back like a Catholic. Go, and also with you.
Yeah. I remember that.
So, Eddie, what are you up to this time of year? You like traveling around, presenting places?
Traveling
You're working
around.
at your shop?
I just got back from two of it. Well, one was an event. I was doing the Florida Pagan Gathering. That was the whole week of Samhain prior.
Say Florida?
I didn't stay for Samhain because I got on a plane and went back up north because I had a wedding to officiate. So I did that, and then I flew back down again because I have another event next week. So, this time of the year, it's always busy.
Well, it's always going to be an interesting couple to have their wedding this time of year. Was it like, gothy or spooky?
No, it wasn't actually. No, it wasn't. They just wanted to have it on Halloween, and it was outside and quite chilly because it was up north, and it rained during, so we had to kind of rush through the whole process. But
that whole a nor'easter.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what a nor'easter is, but I heard about it, and it was happening up there right about then.
Yeah.
Where were you at? Whereabouts?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay, yeah, you got it then.
Up in the mountains of New Jersey, so it was quite chilly.
Oh, they have mountains?
Yes, they have mountains.
I had no idea.
Well, I think like upstate New York's kind of country-esque and stuff, so I kind of assumed. Yeah, I don't know. I've been in New York once in my life, and I was 10, so
and then
I don't
we just went to where all the skyscrapers were.
Yeah.
Yeah, concrete mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you've been traveling around, working.
Traveling around, getting ready for our 40th episode of This Old Witch.
40th? Oh, get off my lawn! Really? I thought you've been doing it long. I mean, you've got a really polished operation, so I assume you've been at it longer than us. God, I feel terrible now.
This Old Witch has only been a year, a little over a year. And I mean, prior to that, I had another podcast with some others, and that did really well too. But then there was some falling out, so we kind of went our separate ways. And I kind of got this idea in my head for this Old Witch, and I approached Alex, and he was like, "Hell yeah, let's do this!" And it just blew up. I mean, we're at 200. The last we checked, we're about 200,000 listeners worldwide.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's blown up within the year, and we're on our 40th episode. Have no idea what we're doing after that, but we have some ideas. May go a slightly different direction. We focus on a lot of the elders within the community, whether known or unknown to the contemporary people out there. But we're going to try to focus on some of those elders that are in the community that are not authors, are not your typical frontline, voices within the community. We're going to go with those ones that actually are voices that are in the community, but that they're not, known. I had the opportunity of meeting this wonderful Gardnerian witch over the past week at the Florida Pagan Gathering, and we're going to highlight her. She has done some amazing work with the Walmart Corporation and giving pagans their holidays off throughout the corporation.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, she's
at Walmart?
She's a frontliner for the community, and I think that's something that should be put out there.
I've said that my entire working life. I mean, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I mean, it still matters to me, but personally, I get the holidays off if I want them. But my whole working life, I always said that. The one time there was when I was a cop, we got one banked holiday a month. So I would bank those and take the pagan holidays. But having them recognize that we're taking that off for our religious beliefs, I think that's pretty goddamn important. And especially unless we're going to let them take this thing over and believe it's a Christian country. We've gone a long way backwards.
What she's doing, I think, for everyone, it's carried over. It's not just within the pagan community, but others too that that are in other spiritual communities and have other religious backgrounds where their holidays and sacred days are not acknowledged, and she's at the forefront of this. And I thought this is a perfect person to put on the show and put that out
Yeah.
there that, you know, it's not just our authors and, you know, people who write 1 million books and
Yeah.
you know, do classes and stuff that have a voice for the community that's doing something great.
Well, actually, less and less. It's less and less about authors all the time with the millennial witches and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Unless you got a book on
in a
tape.
way, I that's maybe the one thing that I kind of agree with the millennial witches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of the people that I know, you know, are you know, pretty well-known authors, but you know, and they're good friends of mine. But at the same time, it's there's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I think with the millennial witches that they're lacking is that proper training.
Yeah.
You know, it's more about the experimentation, which is a great part of it. But there's more to it than that. And to get away from the books kind of, you know, is a good thing, especially,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when it comes down to the major publishers within our community. You know, I always consider them copy-paste books.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, there's not a whole lot, you know, that hasn't been written.
No, you're right, and it's the smaller authors, the smaller publishing companies that are putting out amazing books right now, that are so much more in depth and you know, of course, scholarly books. I was just having this conversation today with someone, you know, that my library is more filled with scholarly books because there's more information in there, more stuff that you could use,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not even within your practice, but just understanding what you're about and what, you know, what your religion or your spiritual path is about is going into the scholarly books. Yeah, they're dry. They're not cutesy. They're not this, but there's a lot more, you know, information that's valid. Really, that's what it comes down to. Is valid information.
I remember, several years back, I remember Cat Ironwood was accused of plagiarizing Scott Cunningham. And it just turned out that they had derived all of their information from the same source. And most of the herb books and recipe books, you know, around that time all came from the same source, you know, the scholarly source, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, that's you know, that's a lot of it. I mean, I have a disposition with Mr. Cunningham, but at the same time, you know, I mean, from that point on, from the 89, early 90s, you know, everything followed the same pattern, you know, and it really hasn't really changed beyond that. You know, and that's why I call it all copy-paste books, you know. Back in the day, back in the, you know, the early 90s, we used to call them, you know, coffee table books. But, you know, now they're copy-paste books. You know, I haven't really found any newer major published books that really hasn't, you know, they really done the same thing over and over again. There's very few. Our good friend Sam Moise, you know, for one, excellent book.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of intro books, you know, saying the same stuff.
Well, that's just
kind of like that with
everything's
music.
an intro book, but it's the same intro book.
It's kind of like that with music, you know.
Yeah.
Every riff's been done.
Every drum beat's been done.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only
Well, I
innovate so
definitely want to tune in for this series because it fascinates me because, you know, I'm one of those people, too. I haven't written a damn book. You know, I do video. I do audio. And I know so many really good teachers. I mean, even the gems in the rough that I find out there on TikTok, there's a handful of them that actually know their shit, and they've never published a thing. And I've often said that, you know, for the longest time in the pagan community, we expect our authors to be teachers, to be priests, to be leaders. I expect them to write fucking books, and that's all I expect from them. You're a notable exception. I'm reading your bio. You are a teacher. You are out there leading organizations and, you know, making shit happen out there, and an author. But a lot of times they're just authors. I remember the first.
Right. And the thing is, and it's nothing against, you know, these authors. I put it on the publishing companies, really, that you know, force the 101 books.
Yes.
You know, you know, if you're starting to see, there's a lot of like independent publishing happening within, our, our good friend Christian Day. He has his own publishing company putting out books that are worth something, worth the paper that they're printed on. My co-host Alexander, went to an independent publisher. It just seems that there's more of that happening. Even Christopher Penzak went away from the large publishing companies and started his own.
I didn't even know that. I've kind of lost touch with Penzak. I haven't read anything.
It's not edited out for the masses and the 101 books. You're able to things. I went through the same exact thing. My 2 books are no longer in print. I have them pulled. They are being revised with their original content, and will be under completely new, basically brand new books, because all the information that was taken out. It's sad, because what it really comes down to is money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's another thing. It's like we expect so much, or traditionally we've expected so much out of these authors that ain't making shit. They're making a very small percentage off of every book, and we expect them, to travel around and teach us and lead communities and do all this stuff. It's like they're not getting rich off of it, man.
No, yeah, and that's just it. You're doing so much, and a lot of times that promotion and advertising and pushing your book comes from the author. Yeah, it doesn't really come from the publisher. And you're doing all that legwork, you're doing all that arm work, or finger work these days, and what does it get you? A certain percentage that doesn't even pay. Pay for the shipping to send it to your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bragging rights, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's it. And then you have copy paste authors, especially newer ones. They nobody's heard of them. They write a book and have a new contract, and that's not saying that they're not good books and they're not good authors, but like putting out 3 books in a year, that to me, whether or not you have an arsenal, trust me, I got a whole 20 million files full of book stuff, that could be turned into books, but it's the same rehashed stuff that's out there. And that's the same rehashed stuff that you find in memes on, social media.
Yeah.
I know you're a big fan of TikTok.
Well, I was just thinking, I see Matt Aron on TikTok, and his entire TikTok channel is plugging his books. That's all I've seen from the guy. So it's like, he's got to work every social media he's got, keep plugging and getting, every one of those fucking books sold.
That's the one thing I have to give these millennial authors. They know how to work the social media to their advantage. I've been in promotion and somewhat advertising for the last 20 something years. And I still don't get a hang of the social media because it changes every day.
Yeah.
And I have for me, I have some integrity for myself. And my own rules that I won't cross, whether or not it's popular and it's going to sell, things or not, or push anything that I'm doing. I just won't do it because I think it goes against a lot of my own standards.
Well, that's rare these days. Even having standards, kind of rare these days.
Yeah. Being I hate saying this, but being an elder, I guess, and being in the community for over 30 something years, I guess, I get jaded too, but at the same time, there's a reason for my jadedness. It comes from integrity, and I think that's something that's lacking in a lot of people these days.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know you had issues with Scott Cunningham, but that was always the word, was that Scott Cunningham ultimately died because he didn't have medical insurance. He couldn't afford it. Got hepatitis, I believe it was. And it's like he was, at the time, probably one of the most, big name pagans out there.
Yeah.
Because it was all about authors back then.
Right. Yeah. Well, especially in the 90s. I mean, we're going through that now. There's always that 20-year wave, within the community where there's that hype and things. We had that in the early 90s and mid 90s. Of course, we had the craft and, all the books that were coming out at that point. And, we had it again earlier, 20 years before that, during the New Age movement.
Yeah.
New
Age. It rhymes with sewage.
I call it the Neo-New Age movement. What's going on now?
I call it New Age because it rhymes with sewage. But yes, I grew up in those times as well. And I think, that's where I coined a cultural appropriation. That's when New Age places have witch shit in them.
Yeah. That's I'll use a new word, right? That's a trigger word or trigger phrase because it's 2 words for me. With the cultural appropriation thing, because everything that we do is a cultural appropriated at some point. So yeah.
Well, I it's a huge subject. You can get in a lot of trouble. You piss everybody off no matter what you say about it because there's a lot of feels involved in it. But I think we have to have a different discussion when we have that discussion and we're talking about magic and spirituality. Because those things get exchanged in very different ways.
I'm not talking about on the social context.
But people do that, it happens on TikTok all the time. People get all pissed off at you for the fact that magical people and indigenous cultures worldwide came up with the same goddamn ideas all over the earth.
Right, and over and over again. Honestly, we wouldn't have anything that we have today in our own spiritual community, no matter what you practice, no matter who you work with, who you worship, whatever. We would not have any of this if it wasn't for other cultures appropriating those things. So, that's how religion travels. Read a book, people. Like, that's my thing. Read a book, and not just your typical witchcraft book. I mean, read some anthropological books and look how things, progressed. And then come back and talk about spirituality and cultural appropriation.
I mean, maybe we can get them to watch a video on it or something, but I don't know if we can get kids to read those kind of books now.
There's probably a YouTube
if we could find a 60-second video, that's why TikTok works, because these kids got a short attention span.
But why feed into that? That's where my stance stops, is because why feed into it?
Yeah.
Why make it worse? Because what is it, 30 seconds now? What is it going to be, 5 seconds in a couple of years? 1 second? Yeah. What can you say in 1 second? You know what I could say in 1 second? Fuck you.
Well, did you ever happen to read Manufacturing Consent? A political book back in the day.
No, I've not, actually. I have heard of it, but I have not.
Well, one of the main things in there was talking about how we as a society have been programmed by commercials. We can only listen to 30 seconds of new information before we zone out. And so what can be expressed in that 30 seconds is only consensus thought. You cannot introduce a new idea in 30 seconds. And now we've gotten down, and that was the 90s. So, maybe you're right. Maybe it's 5 seconds now. I don't know how many seconds, but in the 90s, we were down to 30 seconds that we could really pay attention to something because of TV culture. And now we have TikTok culture, and then YouTube's got shorts, and Instagram's got Reels, which also appear on Facebook now because our short attention span.
Yep.
And I think those kind of things just, how we got in the mess this country's been in for the last, 4 years or so. But I digress.
Well, you have to look at it, too. It's just, it's not just our country. I mean, we're probably leading that, but it is worldwide. Sadly, it is worldwide. It's more so here, I think. And we feed into it, and that's where I was talking about with the going in on TikTok and social media. Yeah, I get it. I know how to do it. Don't get me wrong. As a background in promotion, I know that he's quick. Everything's right in front of your face. Yeah. But there are things. I have a stance. I won't do it.
Huh.
I won't do it. Although our show is on. But that's not through.
Sorry about that.
Through me. That's Alex has his own team of people, especially with his book and stuff like that. And because we're connected because of the show, that helps the show. But I won't do it.
All right. Sorry, I got distracted by the damn loud dog. So hopefully that didn't blow your ears out. No way to keep him quiet. What were we going to ask? There was something we really wanted to ask. Oh, yeah. Tell us about the non-lineage Gardnerian tradition in your book.
Mike was reading it to me, and I was like,
describe to us.
What exactly is that?
All right, so there's a lot of story behind that. So Technically, it's the Horsa tradition, which is not easily verified because of Sybil Leek and her interesting ways of initiating people throughout the years, especially while she was in California. Mm-hmm. So my teacher, my high priestess, was my aunt, who was initiated by Sybil Leek, despite the fact that I have written things by Sybil Leek. It's a very hard thing to prove, that lineage. And so we all know a lot of the Gardnerians tend to be very strict about their proving their lineage, and it was a very hard thing to do. So I use non-lineage in my explanation of my background to save that.
Then you don't have to have that argument. Nice. That fucks them all up before they even have a chance to start. So what, like Sybil Leek wasn't keeping good records or something?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, there was that, but she was also very famous for basically, taking people that came up to her and said, I want to be a witch. And she'll say, okay, spin around, dance on your one leg, and you're a witch now. And then they would go back and start their own coven.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, nobody knows for sure. There was no actual, record keeping of that. Mm-hmm. And despite, the records that I technically do have, it just saves space.
Well, I'm going to have to remember that, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, I think, non-lineaged Gardnerians around. Gardner wasn't really, holding on to his throne very tightly, and by my count, a lot of Gardnerians came to claim the throne, several decades too late. That Pandora's box was open a long time ago.
Exactly. And I left the tradition at second degree, mainly because of the dogma. Really, really what it comes down to. And I wanted to explore other things, and I did. I'm grateful that I did. And over the last 2 years, I've been really missing that structure. Mm-hmm. And now working towards Alexandrian.
Oh, really? I wonder how much different that's going to be for you. I don't really know the differences.
It's not much different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far, it's not much different.
I would think all the basics would still be in play,
Yeah.
It's always,
the basics are in play. It's the procedures and the basics that I would say are different.
But it's kind of always amazed me that the Gardnerian brand, and most of my friends around here, Alexandrian and stuff, and them too, are just the most staunchly traditionalists out there, and they have been my entire craft lifetime. But unless Buckland was lying about his narrative, Gardner spent a lifetime studying religio magic around the world, then retired to the New Forest area of England and came in contact with the Wicca, W-I-C-A, and then started his journey. Now, Gardner would have had plenty of things to fill in the blanks, having studied religio magic for a lifetime around the world, and he would have had to. And ultimately, you can see it in his work. I would have to call Gardnerian witchcraft eclectic as fuck. And Gardner didn't have a problem with that.
Well, yeah, no, it is. If you look at the timelines and controversies and this, that, and the other, again, let's talk about cultural appropriation there.
Yeah.
But, you fill in the blanks, whether or not his background is true or not. I mean, there's still that controversy going on there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not there was a New Forest, nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
But, in the end, you got to look at it as this shit works.
Yeah. Well, now me, I usually look at different.
The shit works, whether or not it was his, whether or not it was Aleister Crowley's, whether or not it goes back to the Lesser Key of Solomon, all of that, whatever, it shit works.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to have to be. I mean, I have no problem holding on to the connections back to Solomon because. As soon as I learned the actual ritual that the Catholic Church uses to this day to bless their holy water and found myself reading words like creature of salt and creature of water, I knew it sounded...
At the beginning of our conversation, handshake.
Yeah. And that we're going to find in Gardnerian witchcraft. We're going to find it probably in Alexandrian witchcraft. And if we follow it far enough back, we're going to find out it comes from the Keys of Solomon. And I'm cool with that. I think even chaos magic is borrowing a lot from the Keys of Solomon. I think that's where they came up with sigil magic. Just a twist on his work.
Well, yeah, no, of course. I mean, that's technically our, I would say, most bona fide grimoire that's out there. I mean, of course, there, a couple things have popped up in, before and prior and things like that. And even that was taken from, old Judaism and even Mesopotamian, so, going back to those crazy Sumerians, it all goes back to something anyway. And again, they took it from this and this, this culture conquered this culture and appropriated that and mixed that. That's what I was saying about this cultural appropriation thing. Know the history. Look into that. Know where things came from, because you're never going to find its original source. We just don't have those records. But it's just, they're non-existent. If they ever find it, it's going to blow up the world, honestly.
Absolutely.
But, the thing is, it's like, it came as it is, and it continued because it works. If it didn't work, it wouldn't continue.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I keep saying about the cultural appropriation in the spiritual and magical context. Like the fact that all these people around the world that didn't have contact with each other came up with the same damn ideas, that makes it more valid in my mind. If only some schmuck somewhere is the only person to have ever had that revelation, that wouldn't sound that legit to me. I don't want to sound like a sheep or anything, but the more the merrier.
Well, I mean, but you're right though. I mean, if you have South America, and then you have Africa, and then you have the North. and there's so many connections, despite this whole modern ley line thing that's there. There's just so many connections, and they all grew up in different areas.
Yeah.
And they have the same foundations. There's a reason for that.
Absolutely. Now I'm looking at your bio, and you got some. You do some Native American stuff, and are also a recognized minister of the First Nation Church.
Yes.
Tell us about that. That's interesting.
Well, I grew up basically spending summers in Montana on the reservation. Mm-hmm. I am a Pekani lineage. Mm-hmm. And just grew up there and began to indulge myself in learning about the culture itself. And then it wasn't until later in life, after I had left, traditional witchcraft, I wanted to learn more. And I went back, and I completely went back, and then I went through what we call the ways of knowing, and was like, holy shit, this is the same goddamn shit. And, I couldn't use the word witch. I couldn't use the same things, but the ideas were the same. Those basic foundations, just like we were just talking about, were all there. And, it became part of my practice, because it was so easy to connect, Mm-hmm. And I went through the whole thing and became through the elders. I became a recognized minister through the First Nations Church, which is one of the largest First Nation Indigenous churches throughout the country, which allows me to, basically officiate weddings and funerals and in all kinds of different ways. But, not only in traditional witchcraft and Wiccan and quote unquote contemporary, witchcraft, but also within Christianity and indigenous practices as well.
Huh. Well, we can ask this question to a kind of an expert, I guess. Then, what are your feelings on white sage?
I knew that was coming. Whenever I talk about this, I knew that was coming. Look, this is the teaching that I was given. The medicine that was given to us with sacred plants was given to humans. There was no race involved. There was nothing involved. It was given to humans to understand this medicine, to be able to use these sacred plants. Okay. I will say this, it is not endangered as it's been put out. The desert sage, wild desert sage, is becoming depleted. However, the sage that you buy in any metaphysical store or online or on Amazon or wherever you get it, the dollar now has it, is not the same sage. And you are allowed to do it because it was given to all humans.
Did you say dog was barking? Did you say desert sage is getting endangered?
Yes, there is a sage. It's called desert sage. The wild desert sage is becoming endangered because of over harvest. But that's not the sage. That's not the white sage. It's not the same line of plant. Can you still get desert sage? Yes, of course you can. It's very similar. Looks almost very the same thing, but it's not the sage you get in your metaphysical stores. That's grown on a farm, just like our corn and everything else. Otherwise, all these metaphysical stores wouldn't have pounds of it to sell.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, like frankincense is becoming endangered. But I don't really want to talk people out of using frankincense because Ethiopia doesn't have a whole lot of exports. And that's like one of their main fucking exports, fucking frankincense.
But again, there's so many different forms of frankincense.
Yeah.
The frankincense that I carry at the store, I'm very picky about my herbs. I'm very big on herbal magic and herbs. So my selection is unique with that, and even the ones that I use personally. And I'm very picky about where I get it from. I only sell Egyptian frankincense. I get it shipped from Egypt. It is a little bit lighter than, I guess your traditional, because you have Middle Eastern, Egypt, Ethiopian. There's a couple of different varieties in there. That's there. There's only one specific one that I know that is getting harder to get. And you're looking at like $20 an ounce. That's the one that's endangered. But the ones that you're getting in everywhere else, in your metaphysical stores, are not the endangered. And that's just a new thing that's probably been popping up. First it was white sage, don't burn white sage. Now it's frankincense, So
Palo Santo.
It's obtainable.
Yeah, they're saying the same thing about Palo Santo, and that's not endangered.
There's another one. That's another one. Most of the Palo Santo that you get out there, is first of all, it's pine that's soaked in Palo Santo oil. 90% of the stuff that I found out there, you can tell because it smells like. To me, it smells like turpentine. If you sniff it and it smells like turpentine, this is what I tell people. If you want to know something is real, taste it.
Yeah.
Because, the thing is that with this Palo Santo that's out there, most of it is pine wood that is soaked in Palo Santo oil. But if it smells and tastes like turpentine, that's what that is. The Palo Santo that I get, I only get certain shipments from. It is from South America. It is from a farm in South America. It is the real one, and it is picked, as most people say, ethically, the proper way. Fallen branches or fallen wood. But there are forms of it. I've been to South America. I've seen them.
Well, I got to, whenever you come to New Orleans, man, I got to give you some of my black copal. Before I closed my shop, I had this friend that would go to the Peruvian Amazon, and he'd get this from the Shipibo tribe of the Uncali River. I memorized that. And they put little, aluminum foil cups and hang them on the trees, and they just kind of export the copal with the foil still attached. We'd have, little party peeling it off. And, oh, God, it's so pungent and almost
piney. I get mine from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot lighter. I love copal. It's one of my favorites because it's to me it's like the sugar coated version of frankincense.
Yeah, some places call it Mexican frankincense, but that'd be like the white version.
Right.
But still,
No, exactly. But again, there's so many different varieties of it. I've never heard of that, so I would be fascinated with it because it's one of my favorites.
Well, I knew I wasn't going to see the guy for a while, and my shop was moving, and so I bought a burlap sack, a full burlap sack worth of black copal. So it's probably a lifetime supply. So when I see you, I'll give you some.
Definitely. Well, I'm planning to come out your way very shortly, because if I don't, Christian's going to kill me.
Okay, we'll tell him to harass you.
Who?
Eddie.
Yeah.
Well, we saw Alexander at Hexfest.
Yep.
Wait, he didn't teach at Hexfest, did he?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. We didn't see anybody else's workshop, so.
Not this past one.
I thought that was where we saw him. At the bar.
I think we saw him
it was 2 years ago.
Well, somebody who looked exactly like him.
Somebody that well,
You talked to
it's
him.
the mask thing. I think we actually had
everyone
a
was
sentence
wearing
or
a
two
mask.
where I thought
Yeah.
for sure that's who I was fucking talking to.
I thought it was him.
He seemed like he knew me too.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
Well, I mean, if so, then I'll have to go back to him and be like, "Bitch, you went without me." Because I was actually going to go.
Oh.
Well, my plan was to go, but then of course it's sold out and all of that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Christian, and he was like, "Well, just come and hang out. You don't have to go to Hex Fest, and you come and hang out with everybody and stuff like that." I'm like, it's 3 days, dude. Like it's like 3 days away. Like
3 days in New Orleans, though.
No, you told him 3 days beforehand that he should come out.
Oh, 3 days away. I see what you're talking about.
Well, are you planning on coming next year for 2022?
Yes, I am planning. I don't care if I'm part of it or not part of it or whatever. I am planning on coming, but I do plan on coming before that. Like I said, because if I don't, I'm sure Christian's going to get on my ass and get me out there anyway. Strangely enough, out of all the years, and even doing Salem too for the last 15 years, I have not been to NOLA.
At all?
At all.
Wow.
Oh.
I know.
We only came I have 3 years
my
ago.
Shop in Florida. It's like not that really that far away.
Not far at
Yeah.
all, yeah.
Well, we only came here once until we decided to move here. So be careful.
I think that's. I think when the universe is keeping me away.
There's definitely an influx of witches.
I'm probably going to end up staying there.
Yeah.
We've got an influx of witches lately. Just keep coming here.
Yeah, a bunch of Hex
Just
Fest
keep
people
coming here.
moved here since we did.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Lilith Darcy has.
Yes,
Yep,
Lilith,
yep.
nearby. I don't know if you know Sean Wild, but he moved here just like last week.
He might have met him in the Zoom meetings last year at
Yeah.
WitchCon. 'Cause
Yeah.
they were, I remember there was only two other guys there, and I think it was you
Yeah.
and Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but mainly because probably all the drama that's happening up in Seattle. We got to go somewhere else. But let's start something. I want to start something somewhere else. Like let's get another witch city going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, according to Coven, that's how it happened.
What?
They weren't very accurate about a lot of things, but it was all about the witches fleeing Salem and ending
Yeah.
up over here. Mm-hmm. It's like maybe they're just fleeing for different reasons.
Maybe like Mobile, Alabama or something.
No, thank you.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't want to go there. So your shop is in Florida?
I had two up until about 2 weeks ago.
The other
I
one
had
just
in
disappeared? What?
Pennsylvania, and then one in Florida. Then Florida is the new one. And basically, my thought was to go 6 months in one and then 6 months in the other. And go back and forth and do what they because I had the festival up in PA and things like that. And the economy is so shitty in Pennsylvania that the Florida store was carrying the Pennsylvania store.
Wow.
I just thought it was a better idea to close that one up and just focus on the Florida one. Of course, some other things came into play. So, yeah, that's the only one I have right now. It's doing fantastic.
What part of Florida?
Yeah, the store is in Cocoa. It's right in Cocoa Beach.
Okay.
We've only been open since January, and we've already been established as the only witch store in Florida, from what we're hearing.
Really?
People walk in and go like, "Wow, this really is a witch store." We cater to everybody, but we the thing is that it's not just your typical metaphysical store. You know, it's not just like you walk in and see stones and sage and, you know, tarot cards. You know, we have a whole left-hand path section. We my of course, because I'm the herbal person, you know, I'm really big. We have obscure herbs and things that most people can't get. Mm-hmm. You know, being initiated into Santeria, we cover a lot of that. Mm-hmm. You know, there's actually our stone section is very minimal because I'm not a stone witch. You know, I don't work with them. Uh-huh. It's just not my thing, and I'm not going to sell things that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back to integrity. Mm-hmm. You know, and if I know it works, I sell it. And I bring in a lot of local witches. I did this in Pennsylvania as well. Bring in a lot of local witches who make products. If the energy is right, I'll carry it. Because that's what it's about for me. Yeah. It's not about making the money. It's about, you know, doing the service for the community.
Well, you already said that the Florida one was floating the Pennsylvania one. Mm-hmm. And in a business context, you're not even supposed to be breaking even yet. So I think you're doing all right with the money.
Yeah.
January?
I mean, we have, you know, I'm trying to understand Florida and the southern things. And, you know, even within my own practice from being down here, a little bit, you know, more so. I mean, I still go back and forth. But, you know, my practice, you know, when I'm down here, I have to be able to connect with things. You know, the energy is different, the spirits are different, but they're all completely different. So, you know, it's a learning process for me too. Yeah. Yeah. It's not just about the money and having the store. You know, I have my practice too. Yeah. You know, and that's been interesting. That's the best thing I can say. Mm-hmm.
So you're saying you spend 6 months in Pennsylvania and 6 months in Florida?
I think that was the plan.
That was the plan.
That was the plan. Lately I've been going back and forth, depending on events, depending on, you know, I'm closing up a lot of the stuff within Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a transient, as you could say. You know, in the process of multiple different things. You know, I did not do my festival up in Pennsylvania this year because it's not gonna work. Like I said, the economy is so bad, and there's still a lot of restrictions and things like that. Mm-hmm. You know, so maybe next year, you know, I'll do that festival. Unfortunately, I had only done one in-person festival with it because we had to go virtual for our second one.
Yeah. I don't think you'll have that issue in Florida.
Been our third.
Yeah, I think in Florida you can do whatever the fuck you want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Basically.
You like shove your mask up your butt.
Yeah. You know, I'm looking now into. I just signed contracts with a venue. And have 3 new ones planned for down here, and looking for next year to redo my northern Pennsylvania one. So, you know, we'll see how things go. Wherever the spirits lead me, that's the way I rule everything. If they say no, then I don't do it.
So what are you going to do if they lead you to New Orleans?
Well, then that's where it goes.
Plenty of shops closed, man. There's room. Yeah. I mean, we've got to have one on every corner, and there's a couple corners that don't have.
We need one in Bywater.
Magic shop. Yeah.
We need one in Bywater.
Yeah, and I don't want to open it, so step it up, dude.
Oh.
All right. Tell us the name of your shop, where they can find you online and stuff.
Right now, the only one that you can get to, I mean, even though the other one's still connected to it, is the Sea Witch of Cocoa Village. And you can get that at seawitchstore.com. Is the best way to find us.
Cool.
You can book for my readings. You can shop. You can do whatever, or you can find us on Facebook. We're everywhere.
And I'm on emassey.com, and you got readings through there, so they can go there too, right? e-massey.com.
Yep, everything goes through that website. Everything goes through there, so you can find everything through that. You can book your readings through there. You can find the store through there. You can find the podcast through there.
You can find
everything's connected. It's like turning on the TV, and you have
you can
Amazon
find his
and all
bio
those
to
things.
read on your podcast over there, and all your information. Just do your whole podcast while reading his page. It totally works. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I gotta pee.
Dance with me, my dear heart.
Religion on Widdershins Radio. What did we hear? T.S. Well before that. The True Sounds of Liberty. Before we get back to our guest, got to tell you about WitchCon. We're talking about it a little bit. WitchCon online is coming again. It already has been the largest online magical convention in the world, and this year they're trying to go bigger, better, stronger, harder. Bring the magic to you. February 18th to the 20th, 2022. Join the largest online magical conference in the world, featuring over 100 witches and conjurers coming to you by live stream video from across the globe. Now we're going to get people that ain't even vaccinated and stuff, and people that can't travel because of their travel restrictions. That's why we get such big name presenters. Watch classes live, then watch on demand whenever you want. February 18th, 22 to the 20th, 2022. Brian Kane, Christian Day, and the Hex Education Network present WitchCon online, featuring over 100 classes by 100 witches, conjurers from across the globe, share their time-honored wisdom and witchery with beginners and advanced practitioners alike. WitchCon presenters are the preeminent masters of the magical arts and hail from across the rainbow spectrum of occult and spiritual practices. Registration is limited to 1,000 attendees, so get your tickets now, fools. It's right around the corner. February, man. It's November. Get on it. It includes all live video rituals and performances, as well as access to recordings of every class after the event has ended via our on-demand video library. We still have not watched all the classes from last year. Attendees and our fans will love the live shopping and the virtual vendorium, the virtual meet and greet. Now that's the thing where all the fun is had, where we tend to hang out and hang out with people. And it even started us. I bought Zoom just so we could have Zoom parties after that because it was so much fun. Yeah. And I have to do something with Zoom to make it pay for itself.
And Eddie was there.
Eddie was there, and Sean was there, and with me that was 3 dudes. Like the whole time, there was only like 3 dudes. Fans, you can meet the attendees and fans, and you can chat with your favorite presenters. It's a great way to get to know your favorite teachers. WitchCon Online is streamed by the Hex Education Network on Crowdcast, a web-based platform with no need to download the app. You can do it on your phone. We even did the Zoom thing on our phone. Get yourself over to witchcon.com. Witchcon.com. Get your tickets now, because like Hexfest, it's probably going to sell out. We got Eddie Massey on the line. We've been talking to him about his practice and his shop and all kinds of things. And I guess now since we went there, let's talk about WitchCon. What are you teaching at WitchCon, Eddie?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm the same way. I'm glad you didn't ask me that question because I don't fucking know either. Let me see.
I'll look at it the week before.
I thought I was the only one that did that. Okay, good. I do that. When I did the Hex Fest, I looked at it like the hour before. Let's see. He's teaching Strawberries and Thorns, an introduction to the secret magical language of plants.
That's a new class for me.
Yeah, it's a new one.
Yeah, that's a new class for me. Because of my herbal background and working with various things, and a lot of people have asked me to teach an herbal class. Mm-hmm. But the thing is it's a hard thing to do for me because it's so natural. It's like tarot for me. I don't teach tarot. I've been a tarot reader for 30-something years, and I can't teach it. So with this, it was basically a brand new class that I put together this past year. I've been experimenting with it over this year. So hopefully by WitchCon it's perfected.
Yeah, you got to come out and see if he can teach it.
Well, the thing is that I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to tell you this service for this, this service for that, this service for this. Because what it comes down to is every culture has their different reasons for things. The way I approach it is what the herb or plant, basically it's makeup for that. For instance, why I called it strawberries and thorns. So strawberries. What do you think of with strawberries?
The first thing I think of, Marta's been learning about Russian paganism, and strawberry leaves came up in, I believe it was a love spell.
I think strawberry leaves are actually a common component of different types of spells.
Mm-hmm. I remember we used to carry them in our shop, but I didn't really know what they were for.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like 60 I didn't know half
the
the
reason strawberries is basically the main one is love. When you look at a strawberry itself, it's the shape of a heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As is some of the leaves, depending on if it's a wild strawberry or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it automatically has that frequency.
Yeah, and it's red.
I'm really big on understanding the frequencies of things.
Mm-hmm.
It resonates. The same frequency is with the same frequency as love. Rose quartz, or even Aphrodite, or whoever or whatever. It's the same frequencies, and that's how I break it down. In utilizing different herbs is the shape of the leaves, the colors, all of that, and that's what this is all about. So I called the strawberries and thorns because strawberry. I think strawberry leaves is one of the ones that are most overlooked when it comes to love magic, and thorns, obviously protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
We give roses. It's a funny thing because rose, is associated with love, and that could be cultural, that could be social. But I think the vibrations over time has picked up over vibrated basically at the same frequencies as love, but it hurts. So we can utilize those thorns as well.
Did you say hertz like HERTZ? Or hurts the other one?
The thorn hurts. The
Okay.
thorn hurts.
Okay. Well, because we were talking about frequency, so I'm thinking.
That was wondering
my
that
brain's
too.
going hertz.
Yeah.
But love can hurt too. And that's a big process of working with love magic. Is understanding that sometimes you may love someone, but they may not love you back, and those things that there's a reason for that, and you give that rose, and sometimes it can prick you. So that was the purpose of you giving it that title. But roses can also be used for protection because of those thorns. So it vibrates at different things. And of course this goes back to that social media thing where they go, just throw rose petals into that jar with some honey and you'll win your lover back. Here's the thing, but you got to tell that rose what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to tell that rose what to do because it could also be protection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what the kids are going to say out there, they're going to say, intent is all that matters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, you know what? You know you can stick that intent?
I can guess.
Wait, you can stick the rose petals where you want to intend to stick it, but sometimes you'll get the thorn too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was where the whole purpose came for the class. So it's not, the class is really not about teaching, this is for this and that for that, because there's a million books out there for that. It's really about connecting with those plants and connecting with the medicine of that plant, going back to the indigenous teachings, going back to what that plant can teach you and how it reflects. Maybe if you resonate with rose for not being with love, maybe there's a reason for that. and that's what the class really, how the class came about. So it's not your typical herbal class.
Well, good. I hate typical herbal classes.
Yeah.
I want to hear about, you were talking about at your shop you have three of the most obscure herbs. Or you were talking about the most obscure herbs. I was going to ask you for three.
Yeah.
Three of your most obscure herbs.
Three of my most obscure herbs. Obscure because of where they come from, or obscure because of what I carry?
You were saying that they were obscure, so
Just
I'm not
maybe
sure what
something
you meant.
nobody's really
Compared
heard
to
of.
most metaphysical places, I don't carry a lot. Of course I do. You typical rosemary and all that stuff. But my selection, I try to. It depends on where they come from. I'm very picky about where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll carry stuff from South America, things that are used within ATRs, which a lot of metaphysical places do not carry, unless you go to a botanica.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, and of course I carry mandrake, and I carry, I can obtain other things for people. I do not promote that I sell things, but my big thing, and there's a big sign within the store, is if you don't see it, just ask, because I can get it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
Often that's the best stuff.
And that's why people come to me, because, some things you can't always get in your regular metaphysical store.
Can you get, Marta wants to know if you can get ambergris.
Real ambergris?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get it, but I do not sell it because it's too damn expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have a hookup through my grandfather, but he passed away. So.
I used to have a hookup for cruelty-free ambergris. It was even more expensive.
Yeah.
But God, was it worth it?
But that's the thing. If you want it and you come to me and I'll get it for you, but you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things that are hard to get, especially if you want the real stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have no qualms. I don't ask questions. I don't do this. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Usually,
so you're a good guy to know.
I'm very big about education. I think education is extremely important in what we do, especially on being on that forefront of having a store and being a teacher and all of that. Education, I think, is extremely important. So when these younger millennial witches, TikTok witches, and all those kids come in and ask for certain things. My thing is like, do you know how to use it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what you're getting into? Let me explain. And I'm you can sit there with an hour with me and talk about it. Will I turn you away if I think that it is being used improperly? Yes. Because it's not about money, it's about education for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the way you're running your shop, you need to be there a lot
Yeah.
to answer these questions and things.
Yes. Especially now, for other reasons, which I won't get into.
Mm-hmm.
But, definitely. But, even if somebody comes in and I'm not there and I have somebody there and they ask for a certain thing, the person who's there comes to me and says, hey, can you get this? I have that person tell that person to contact me so that I can at least spread some kind of education on things.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you come in and you want this specific thing doesn't mean I'm going to get it for you.
Yeah.
Know your consequences. This is what I say all the time, that there is magical systems for a reason. It's not all about intent.
Yeah. Well, you're in Florida. People are going to want, very different plants. So you can grow stuff that you couldn't grow before in Pennsylvania, too.
Yeah,
You grow Abre Camino now.
I have not been into that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is in the process. I'm still trying to learn the native plants as well. I'm now planning on taking a course on understanding the, as they put it, the fauna of Florida, so that I can understand it. I mean, I've lived permanently up north my entire life. So, I understand that, the information that I'm getting from the environment. I'm understanding the plants. I'm understanding that. And here, I don't have that. Even some of my personal recipes have changed within the last couple of months because I'm really about those frequencies, going back to the herbs and the frequencies and medicine of that because, let's just say my Samhain incense or my Mavin incense, I utilize things that I can walk out my door for. Being down here and offering it to the community here, it's different. Yeah, it's a different oak tree.
We've definitely had to adapt to the humidity here, which we really did not have in Los Angeles. It was the opposite.
Very different plants.
Yeah.
Well, like you can grow Opry Camino because when we're growing it here, but I got it from Florida, so it's like it always comes from Florida. Florida's like its place.
One of my favorite plants.
Yeah.
To work with. Honestly, it's one of my favorite plants to work with. I've always ordered it live.
Yeah.
But now that I know that it can grow here, and I know there are areas that it does grow natural. Yeah. In this, that's a whole new world for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, what did we find out? We can grow dragon's blood here? Like the tree that will grow?
I don't remember.
It was either dragon's blood or frankincense.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be the Indian dragon's blood, though.
Yeah, it's a form of dragon's blood.
That needs a hotter temperature because I know even down here, it does get cold, especially it's getting colder now.
Yeah,
here too. Once your blood, your vessels start to get closer to your, they start moving because you get adapted to the weather. It does get colder, but I think it's too cold for Indian dragon's blood. But I'm sure you probably could grow the tree.
It might have even been frankincense that we were looking at.
Yeah, I don't remember actually.
A variant, because there are African trees that will grow here.
Yes, yeah,
like,
and that's just it. It's closer to the African ones that you could get. For me, like the dragon's blood, I right now I think I have like 4 packages of it. I will only carry dragon's blood from India.
It's skyrocketing every time I look. It just keeps going up.
God, it's people are like, oh my God, why is your dragon's blood so expensive?
Yeah.
It's not frankincense dyed.
Yeah. Yes.
It's real dragon's blood.
So you get the stamp on it, the little gold stamp on it.
Yeah, well, I won't carry anything else. I have a personal nugget that I've had for the last 20 years. It's probably about the size of a ball. When I got it, it was I guess the size of a tennis ball. It was straight from India. It was a little under a pound. And I had paid $45 for it. It is the most amazing dragon's blood you would ever smell. But that's straight out of India. I had a friend that traveled. I said, bring me back, dragon's blood for myself. That's my personal stash.
Yeah.
But I do order my dragon's blood from India. It's not as good as that one. However, it's not cheap.
No.
And I said, if you're finding dragon's blood for less then $5 an ounce, it's frankincense that's dyed.
Oh. You know, at the witch store I grew up in when I was a kid, they had white sandalwood dyed with food color in all of the cardinal colors to use to color all of their incense, almost like a cut. That's how plentiful white sandalwood was back then. Now it's endangered and expensive as hell.
But back then, sandalwood was cheaper. I mean,
Totally.
it's actually really expensive right now.
I know. It's endangered for a while now.
Red. I do not carry the white because in most cases it's bleached. But I only carry the red, and I'm very picky with where I get it from. It's actually out of Africa. And when it runs out, and I have to order it again. But it's not endless for me, and I think most of the sandalwood, and that's why I said, everybody, if you're going to buy an herb, put it in your mouth. You'll know the difference. Because a lot of it's dyed, a lot of it is infused with the oil and things like that, and you'll know the difference. That's why I tell all my customers, put it in your mouth. If you're buying an herb, put it in your mouth.
Well, what if they're buying, like hemlock or aconite or something?
What?
It's a joke. What about the baneful herbs?
Well,
Poison.
So yeah, no. Those I do not put out there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of the internet rules, there are certain things, even mugwort is considered baneful, internet-wise. So I do not sell that online, although I go through it like crazy because it's the new thing to drink mugwort tea.
It's more mugwort is more illegal in Louisiana than pot.
Are you serious?
And mugwort's one of my standards. A weed. I always knew where mugwort grew. I haven't found it around here. Maybe that's why. Maybe people are hoarding it because it's. You read why it sounds like people are getting high off it.
Well, that's just it. I mean, that's the new thing, especially with these millennial witches. They're all making it for tea. Yeah. I go through at least 5 pounds of mugwort a month.
Yeah, I used to.
And it's so funny because you can find it at the side of the road.
I know. Haven't found it at the side of the road here. All the normal places that I would find it, I have not found it growing here. And then if I did find it, I'd have to be really careful harvesting it.
Wow. Interesting. Well, you go up north and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
When you go to New York, it's growing in the sidewalk.
California, it's everywhere. It's near every river.
Yeah. Interesting. That's what I was saying about, connecting with the land and really, becoming acquainted, of being in two different places. I'm used to going out my front door or my back door and going into the woods and going into the mountains and, really just picking what I needed, and I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, you can go to a shop, you can get all of these things, but it's really about, the magic of the place that you are. Why get frankincense when you can get pine?
Yeah.
Your match is going to be so much more personal and so much more in tune frequency-wise if you could just walk out your door and just get it. So that's where I'm at, with being, in the South more often now is I want to understand that. I want to be able to do that. And so, I'm actually taking classes to, and little classes, you go to your nature preserve or whatever, and they always give these classes. It's all that information. that you can collect and go, oh, that's what that is, yes, there's apps for it. Yeah, I can walk around the freaking neighborhood and take pictures of all this and figure out what it is. That's not connecting you with those frequencies. That's not connecting you with the medicine.
Yeah, no, I like having a guide. I remember we moved inland. The farthest inland we lived in California, we were like 3 hours from the coast, and we got somebody local to take us for a hike. And buckeyes grew there.
Oh, when Juju took us?
Yeah, in Grass Valley.
Yeah,
at any rate,
Buckeye, I'm not
it's
sure.
just much better to have somebody that knows the land show you where the stuff's growing.
That's what's missing, nowadays is just because someone's not a witch or someone's not, within the same spirituality doesn't mean they have knowledge. Go out, learn it. That's what it's about.
Marta's whispering to me. Sorry. I'm just looking at. I'm looking at Eddie's classes. It automatically scrolls. So on his emassey.com, there's an on-demand classes thing. Let's see, we got Candle Magic Starter class, and then it switches. The three faces of the goddess, understanding the essence of deity, familiars and versus magical pets. Ooh, okay. Let's go there.
My favorite classes to teach.
All right. If you could quickly describe the difference that you think.
Yeah. So, that's a big thing for me. It's one of those trigger things when I was like, oh, this is my familiar and the post is cat and whatever. The thing is that a familiar is a spirit. It is a spirit that you work with. Can it come within an animal? Of course. I'm not going to deny that. There is a process to obtain that spirit, which makes it your familiar. Familiar has become such a word that it's like anything that you have. Like my dog is my familiar, my cat, my this, my that, and that's all my familiar. That's not the case. This is something that you magically work with on multiple levels, not just in the mundane and not just within the higher realms or the lower realms. It's something that you call to. When I wrote my first article on that, it was around the same time as Sabrina, the teenage, the new version of Sabrina had come out, and I thought it was fantastic that it was done properly. It was called to. It is a spirit that you're called to. If you look at
the little talking cat in Sabrina.
Yes, the talking cat.
So she did that properly.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Of course, entertainment-wise, you throw that in, of course. But it was something that she had to call to, and that's what getting a familiar is about. The cat that came around could be a familiar. Yes, I'm not going to deny that. However, the cat that you picked up at your local shelter is your magical pet. And the difference is your magical pet is there to they get attracted to the magic. They get attracted to that because it's it's still an animal. They get attracted to their energies and their frequency. Do they sit at you when you're meditating? Of course, because you're vibrating at that frequency. They're coming to that. That makes it a magical pet. It's completely different from a familiar. A familiar is a spirit that could attach to an animal, yes. But it's, when you look at it from the ATR things, we all have a spirit that we work with. I know you're initiated into Apollo, right? Yeah. So you have that spirit that you work with. It's the same concept, and it's found within multiple cultures. But everybody needs to feel special and have, their familiar. This is my familiar, and that comes out of pop culture. Pop culture, even going back to historical pop culture. When you look at older texts and especially the witch trials. Oh, the familiar is the frog and this and that, right?
Yeah.
In traditional, some of those things are associated with things and things like that. But just because you have a pet does not make it your familiar. Right. Can that spirit do the work for you?
Yeah.
When I work with my spirits, they're a part of my army, and they're doing the work for me. Whether they manifest in a physical form through an animal or through whatever, that is a familiar. That is something you create a bond with. And a magical pet is just a pet that likes magic.
Yeah, I've always found that, most cats are into it. Dogs, dogs maybe not.
They are. I'm not saying that they're not, but that does not make it your familiar.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you mentioned the witch trials. It's my belief that that's where we first see the idea come about, that every witch has to have a familiar. And any animal that they owned is branded as their familiar. And they had to have one. It's kind of like the witch mark. They made that up too, but they had to find one. You had to have a familiar. You had to have a witch mark. You had to, float instead of sink, or was it sink instead of float? I forget. But there were certain things that had to line up for them to convict you of being a witch, and familiar was one of those.
Right. And that's just it. It's rolled over into, probably from the New Age. Everything comes from the New Age area.
New Age.
You have to have this familiar. This is my familiar. Let me, you see it a lot on social media. Post your pictures of your familiar.
Oh, yes, all the time. And I always give the same speech every time.
And I it's funny because late at night when I'm feeling, it's the worst time for me to go on social media because I'm the biggest ass. But I've gotten kicked out of so many groups.
Hey, I just got out of Facebook jail for just that.
Yeah. No, I see all your posts for that too. But I get kicked out of a lot of groups because I tell the truth. And the thing is with familiar, when I see those posts, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't take a picture of my familiar because I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I have spirits that I work with. I have spirits that I was initiated with. I have different things that I work with. Do I consider them the typical familiar? Not necessarily. Do I even be like, oh, this is my familiar? No. Am I familiar with that spirit? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
but it is not my familiar.
See, this is why I'm no fun at that particular party. I'm always going off. First I'm going to go off about the familiar. But then, show me your picture of your altar. Show me your picture of your tools. Show me your book of shadows. All these people that everybody wants to fucking share. It's like, don't share that shit, dumbass. Not everybody's nice out here. Not everybody's a white lighter.
I will share, I will share if people, are legitimately asking for information. I will share my shrines because those are in common places. I will never share my working altar.
Yeah. Well, tell the kids why.
Well, multiple reasons. First reason is I'm always got something going on for a client on my working altar or for myself. But on top of that, that holds all my personal connections to, number one, my spirits, number one, the deities that I work with. And that's, let's just say I work with, and I don't, let's just say I work with, trying to think of a obscure thing that I don't work with, Kali, right? Don't get me wrong, love her to death, whatever. Say I work with Kali. What if somebody wants to go through Kali and say, hey, your child, right? Your devotee, whatever, the person you work with, is doing this to me. then Kali can turn around and be like, hey, and turn around your work.
Yep.
You know,
Yep,
so
yep, yep.
It because that working altar is where you do your work, where you do your devotions, where you do your things, where you have those personal connections with your deities, with your spirits, you know, whether it's your working altar, your ancestor altar, whatever it is, you have that connection there. That's an open communication. That's like going online without any virus protection.
Mm-hmm.
It's an open door.
Yes. Well, so as you went there, you talked about, you know, having client work on your altar. It's like, why? Tell the kids why you wouldn't want to share that.
Maybe, you know, if you put it on there, somebody's going to see it. They know you're working with it. They can go to somebody else. If they can't do it themselves, they can go to somebody else, and that person can look at what you're doing and go, oh, this is what they're doing, and fight it.
Hmm. Yeah. You got like a lot of, you know, I've spent, you know, as you know, TikTok. I'm there. It's my personal mission to try and change TikTok because it is a wasteland of disinformation and bad teaching. I just had my main account of 65,000 got like permanently banned. But I do the same thing on where there's new witches on Facebook and YouTube and all over the place. And there's just so many naive kids out there that think that we're all one big happy family.
Yeah, and that's just it. You know, you don't. And the thing is, it's not. Yeah, maybe a practitioner to a practitioner, maybe a little bit more nicer, you know, to each other. But you know, what if the person you're doing work against or for or whatever? I have no qualms about any of it, but you know, they see that you're putting this. Right? You have two crossed lovers, right? And one lover's a practitioner, and they're like, oh, I'm doing this spell, and they posted all of it, and they did all of that. And that crossed lover says, oh, she's doing magic against me, and wants to rebut, doesn't know how to do that, and that person is not a practitioner, but goes to another practitioner, sees that post, and goes, oh, I know what they're doing. And can fight that and change everything that you're doing. Yeah.
You can figure out, you know, what type of magic they're working the spell with, and then you find the kryptonite for that.
Right, exactly. I mean, because you know, no matter what, we're not all powerful. We have our ways, we have our things, we have our spirits, we have whatever. But at the same time, you know, like for me, whenever I do client work, a reading comes first. Why? Because everybody lies.
Yes.
So
or they omit truths.
I want to know, first off, if you're not, you know, if it comes out that, you know, whether you're telling the truth or you're not telling the truth, my spirits are not going to lie to me. And they're not going to tell me to do something that is not beneficial, number one, for my client, even in the long run, or beneficial for myself. So, you know, that's the first thing that comes. First is a reading, you know, a straight out tarot reading. All right, let's find out the truth. Okay? You tell me the truth. I got the truth. This is okay. Then I go to my spirits and see what's the best to do next. You know, sometimes it could be just a little light a candle, you know, light a blue candle, whatever. It could be something as simple, or it could be like really hardcore. They're going to tell me what's the best process, and that's a process in itself. You know, so when I work with my clients, you know, everybody's like, oh, well, you know, why does it cost so much? Why is it this? Why is this? Because there's a process. Now, when I go to my spirits, it's yes or no. There is no, hey, what's the best thing? It's yes or no. So I have to break down every route that this could go.
Yeah.
So it'd be, okay, you know, I could go to my spirits like, can I do this with a candle spell, let's just say. They're like, no. Okay. do I do this? No. Until I get a yes. And then break that down. Like, there's a process. There is a system to the magic that I do. And I personally think that there's a system to every magic, which is why training is extremely important. That you can't just follow a meme that's out there and do some things. Because, intention is important. But, yes, you start from the beginning, you throw that rose, going back to the herbs, going rose and honey and this, and your intentions are all good. You're doing all that. My thing is that you have to hit every single thing that you're putting into that jar. Do jar spell work? Absolutely. As long as each piece knows what it's doing.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. With stones, herbs, even salts, you got to tell it what to do. They got a lot of multi-purpose. When the especially the younger ones come in, they're asking about stones or herbs and this and that, and I'm like, the way I kind of educate them is like, think of, and we'll just use rose, because it's very simple. Rose can be used for love, protection, all these other things. How does the rose know what it's doing? How does it know that job? Because if you're throwing it in there, and yes, your intention is about love, that's really about 1% to 2% until you tell it exactly what you want it to do. Mm-hmm.
You go to that rose and you go, listen, Rose, whatever you want to say. I'm not all, I'm very traditional in my practice, but, if you want to just go, hey, Rose, I want you to bring in the love of X, X, Y, and blah, 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 and this is what I want, blah, 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 and then throw it in. You just went from 1% of your intention to 50%.
Absolutely. Hey, God damn it, we're at the end of the show, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie.
Wow, that was fast.
I know, it's fast 2 hours right there. Mm-hmm. You've been a fabulous guest, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all go over to e-massey.com. What's your website for your shop?
It's e-dash?
Yeah, it's e-massey.com.
Yep, e-dash.
Okay.
Yep. The shop is seawitchstore.com.
Seawitch Store. You got over on emassey.com. You can schedule a reading, got the publications, on-demand classes, the Old Witch podcast, various media. You can get his bio, all of that thing. So, all of those good things. Anything else you want to plug? You got any upcoming engagements or anything?
I have in December, if you are in the Floridian area, I am hosting the Winter Witches Gala. It is an upscale dinner with a small ritual, and our keynote speaker is Oracle Hecatius. He is the author of Styx Craft, which is a Hellenistic, ancient Greek practice of witchcraft. He is our guest speaker. We'll have dinner and dancing and all of that, but it's upscale. So it's a gala, and we are raising money for national and local organizations throughout the night.
Great. Address for that?
That is in Titusville.
You got a webpage or anything?
I do. If you go to the Sea Witch Facebook, it is on there as one of the events, and it's also on the website too, as well. Tickets are about $60. That includes full dinner, dancing, vendors, and a whole bunch of other things. That's my newest venture.
Very cool. All right. Hey, dogs, don't start it, man. We're at the end of the damn show, all right? Well, get your ass out to New Orleans. We're going to, next time we see Christian, we're going to ask him to harass you. Get your butt over here.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then. Thanks for coming on, Eddie. You've been a great guest.
No, thank you.
Okay.
You know, always going back. I listen to your show all the time, and I got to give you kudos. I've been telling you, I've been thinking about it the whole time for this too. I got to give you kudos for the music that you play because it brings me back.
See, that's the part we like. A lot of people go, "Why do you play music on your podcast?" Like, well, first of all, none of them people are going to sue us because they're all a bunch of old punk bands. And
Yeah.
they love getting played anywhere, and it reminds me of being on. You know, I'm an old radio guy.
Yeah, it's like
We had
free
to mix
radio
it up,
Santa
man. I'm
Cruz.
way pre-podcast, man.
Yep.
Can't do it.
Listen,
It takes me way back.
I grew up in that, you know, the post-punk era and the goth era. So, you know, hearing the Damned is like, oh my God.
Well, then we're gonna. Let's see. Where the hell's my Damned on this one?
You're gonna do more Damned.
We're gonna close with the Damned. Let's see. God, it used to be all the Damned was up top. Now I've got mixed stuff here. All right, I'm gonna find you a Damned song, and we're gonna go out with a Damned song. But we will talk to you later. Thanks for coming
Thanks, Eddie.
So, thank you, guys.
on. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again, and all that shit.
Same to you.
Okay, bye.
All right, have a good night.
Bye. Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna sit here
Widdershins.
and scroll
You
to
can
find
find
the-
Widdershins typically every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central Time. You can find us at iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and probably anywhere that you get podcasts. You know what? Remember when that thing happened when we had that hurricane? And I lost a whole bunch of stuff. Look at that. All right, we're going to listen to Ignite. 13th Floor Vendetta live on WFMU. Scratching the... No, I'm going to listen to Noise, Noise, Noise live on WFMU
here.
from the Dam.
Yeah.
Don't tell me where we're going to go.
I don't know. I'll tell you
where
where we're
did I
going
not
to
hang
go.
up? Oh, my God, we still got Eddie on there. Sorry, Eddie. Witter says, we'll see you next time. Get the fuck out of my face.
WFMU is proud to present,
Oh, great.
all the way from England,
Now we're going to get sued
the
by
legendary
WFMU.
Well,
Damned.
Great idea.
Well, they don't know my name. It'll be fine, man. You're such a naysayer.
On a brand new day, I'm gonna start on the perfect way with the greatest record on. I kick the dog, I kick the cat, and some my mama's on
smoke that cigarette.
Smoke, smoke, smoke till you smoke yourself to death. Tell St. Peter at the pearly gates, I hates to make him wait, but I gotta have another cigarette.
Called Ignite. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're sorry.
I used some fancy tuning in that last song.
Twilight comes and the moon's come, he's gonna hit the street. Grab some of that nighttime beat. My heart is beating, say like a drum. The night is in my veins. We're gonna have some fun tonight. Whoa, 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 whoa. Like this summer's night, I'm gonna set the world alight. Yeah, that news I must ignite. Well, I'm gonna set the world alight. Wanna see you burn. I kill the cigarette, I kill the light, I'm killing time the key, 'cause me on summer nights I'm gonna live a life, live a dream, hell forever in my scheme, my face tonight. Whoa, 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 like the news I must ignite. Well, I'm gonna set the world alight. I said now like news I must ignite. I'm gonna set the world alight just to see you burn. Wanna see you burn. See you burn, baby. See you burn. Thunder that heat, blood is rushing to my head. No pleasure tonight in lying in bed. Like a candle man must ignite. I'm gonna set the world alight tonight. Whoa, 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 whoa. Light the fuse, I must ignite. Yeah, I'm gonna set the world alight. I said light the fuse, I must ignite. I'm gonna set the world alight just to see it all burn. See it burn. See it burn, baby.
Burn! Burn!